A two-part finale, written by two different writers. Is it any wonder that they feel so different from each other? Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin, I am a geek, you are watching Kevin the Geek, and it is time for the Season 1 finale review of Torchwood. This is my review of Captain Jack Harkness and The End of Days. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined me along this journey. I really do appreciate it. Do go back and check out all of the other reviews on the playlist on the channel, along with all of my other Doctor Who related media. You can see so much on there, and again I just thank you for all of the love and support. But yes, today we are talking Captain Jack Harkness and The End of Days. And so Captain Jack Harkness was written by Catherine Tregenner, and then End of Days was written by Chris Chibnall. So overall, as a two-part finale, how was it? I would say reasonable. Yeah, it's not anything absolutely amazing, but it is reasonable. And the reason I say that is because it really does what the whole series of Torchwood has tried to do, and focus on the characters and the emotions. Now, did it get everything right? Hell no. Was there missteps along the way? Hell yes. But as a kind of a conclusion to the series, did it pay off most things that you wanted it to? I would say for the most part it did. So let's talk first of all Captain Jack Harkness. And I think it's a situation that it really tried to delve in on Captain Jack as a character who at this point, both in Doctor Who and in Torchwood, we've never really seen. You know, other than, I would say, maybe Small Worlds, that's the closest you've seen to kind of understanding a little bit more about him. But here we learn the origins of his name. We find out that Captain Jack Harkness is not his actual name. Not that I really think that anyone suspected that it was his name. And as a concept, the idea that he has taken the name of a soldier, you know, a real person who lost his life, I think is interesting. Did they go in as much in on it as they could have done? I think not. I think they could have done a little bit more with it. Because we know from Captain Jack, you know, our Captain Jack, he has been to the World War period a number of times. He mentioned in the very first appearance in Doctor Who that he does a lot of cons in the World War and Pompeii, and seemingly he's gone back and done the same kind of ones multiple times. So if you think that he needs some sort of an alias, it would make sense that if he is in a World War II setting, he takes the name of an actual soldier. So, you know, I like it. The interactions between him and the real Captain Jack, little bit hit and miss, I think, for me, particularly the stuff towards the end. You know, where they have this sort of love moment. It felt weird, and it doesn't feel earned, really, as an idea. But overall, it was pretty good, and I loved what Tosh did in that episode. She was really good, and I liked that they touched on, even if only briefly, they touched on the idea of racism towards the Japanese, which, okay, at this present moment in time that they're in, this would have been before the Pearl Harbor situation. but there still would have been some element of mistrust. And so I like that they played on it, but they didn't go really in depth, which I think could have just undermined it ever so slightly. And then the rest of that episode, Gwen was pretty much a side character in this one. The main other focus was Yanto and Owen. And I found them interesting, the dynamic that they had, kind of a battle for power, if you like. But I don't know whether it felt right that Yanto was that person. I wonder if it might have come across better had it been Gwen versus Owen, because Gwen knows, arguably a tiny bit more than the rest of the team, because she's, of course, the only one who knows that he can't die. And of course, that Gwen and Owen have had their rocky relationship, so I think it would have worked a bit better had they done pretty much the same stuff, but with them two, and maybe Yanto had been doing the kind of the digging around at the hospital, which I don't mind that Yanto had more to do, because again, really, other than I would say Cyberwoman, that's probably the most that Yanto's really had to do in the whole season. So yeah, I'll give it that. And then of course the other character that straddles the two episodes, Billis Manger, the guy who can step across time, that has an innate sense of creepiness about him, played by the wonderfully esteemed actor Murray Melvin, who sadly, at the time that I'm recording this, passed away about a month ago in April 2023. And I only realised that through looking him up, because I couldn't remember his name for the episode. And he was fantastic. There was something about him, but he had this pure upper class Englishness about him that kind of made you want to trust him, yet at the same time was really unsettling and really unnerving. So I thought he was an amazing choice to play that character. So as an overall episode, I really do like Captain Jack. It is, I think, one of the better episodes of the entire show. Now, going into the second part, I think that it's an episode that if you take away the last 10 minutes of it, it's a damn fine episode. I really do think. I think the what they were trying to go for with kind of setting up the mistrust in the team and the mistrust towards Jack, I thought it was really effective. And the way that they all had their individual person who really, I think, other than Toshiko, I think she was the only one whose person, i.e. her mum, she was the only one who we hadn't actually met. Of course, with Yanto, it was Lisa, the Cyberwoman. With Owen, it was Diane from Out of Time. And for Gwen, it was the death of Reese. Now, I am very critical, I'm going to say, towards Gwen and Reese as their kind of relationship throughout the first season. And I think it's with a lot of reflection, because I love Gwen and Reese from series 2 onwards. But in series 1, she treats him so badly. And I know that he is designed to be the kind of the focal point and the grounding for her, and an ability for her to keep her foot in the real world. I like that about Reese and what he stands for, but she's an absolute arsehole towards him this entire season. And Now, the scene where he gets stabbed and she finds his body, and then afterwards when he's lying there dead in the morgue, I cry every time at that scene. The raw pain that you hear in her voice and the tears of anguish. Yet at the same time, I can't help but feel a little bit frustrated. And originally, Reese wasn't going to get brought back. Originally, that was going to be Reese Dunn. And I'm so glad that they decided to bring him back for season 2. But overall, if they had decided to kill him off, it would have been interesting to see what happened to Gwen moving forwards from a story dynamic. The other thing that I've always thought about with this episode is whether it was the right thing to have Jack not have someone and him be kind of standing against the team, or would it have been better to have the Doctor appear? Now, obviously, from a logistical point of view and a narrative point of view, I would say that the problem with that is really you would have needed Christopher Eccleston. Now, had it been David Tennant that they brought in, I don't think from a narrative point of view it would have made any sense, because at this point, of course, it is before Jack meets Doctor Number 10, and his only experience so far has been Christopher Eccleston's Doctor, the Ninth Doctor. And, of course, we all know that, Christopher Eccleston had a falling out, really. And if he wasn't going to come back for Doctor Who, I don't think he ever would have come back for Torchwood. So, had it been maybe a couple of seasons later after he'd met David Tennant and they did the same thing, I think they would have brought in David Tennant, and I think they would have gone down the avenue of having him, convince Jack. The other thing, from a story point of view, would that have added in the conflict? I don't think it would have done. But at the same time, it would have prevented or at least strengthened maybe the Abbadon situation, because I'm not going to lie, I actually timed it on this rewatch I did today. From the moment Abbadon appears on screen to the moment he gets defeated by Jack, that takes up 4 minutes of the episode. Less than 10% of the entire runtime of this episode. So if you take about it over the 2-parter, he's in it for less than 5%, and he is kind of set up to be this seemingly big bad, and they just introduce him and then get rid of him so quickly. It felt like such a waste. And I loved the Devil and the Beast that they did in season 2 of Doctor Who, with the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. And from the words that Billis Manger seemed to use, it seemed to be that he actually would be, sort of related-ish to that original Beast. But when you compare the two, the Beast was so fleshed out, you got so much of a sense of threat from him, whereas this Beast was literally a big CGI monster who walks around. If you fall in his shadow, you die. And there was a couple of really bad extra moments. If I can find it, I'll put it on the screen. But you see some of the extras going, oh, and falling down before they even get hit by the shadow. It kind of takes you out of the scene a little bit when you see it, and you kind of, see it for the first time and you realise it. So that's a bit of a nitpick, But, like I said, all the stuff before that I thought was reasonably strong. But I feel it gets let down because the final, 5 to 10 minutes of this episode is pretty much all that anyone remembers of this episode. And then, of course, you have the whole setup leading into Utopia in Doctor Who, which I am actually going to be reviewing tomorrow on the channel, so make sure you stick around for that. And the fact that the continuity is not great bugs me. The fact that it seems like the TARDIS is materialising within the hub And then when you get into the start of Utopia, it's outside in the bay and Jack's running to get it. Yeah, a little bit over the place there. Clearly, they could have done a bit more communication. But as an overall finale, I thought it was reasonable. You know, there have been a lot worse episodes of Torchwood and Doctor Who as well. But what are your thoughts on Captain Jack Harkness and the End of Days? Whatever your thoughts are, good or bad, drop them down in the comments below. And please, if you are new to the channel, please do like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Please do go back and check out all of my Doctor Who rankings that I've also done, the most recent of which are the 10 most badass Doctor Who speeches. That came out only a couple of days ago, and I released it early because of the fact that you guys helped me get to 250 subscribers. So thank you so much for that. Join me again tomorrow for my review of Doctor Who Season 3, Episode 11, Utopia. But for now, my name's Kevin, I am a geek, and you've been watching Kevin the Geek. Goodbye.